I was just hiding from the rain by the side of the road, but I ended up unexpectedly taking in a girl in a wheelchair. At first, I thought she needed help, but she just kept staring at me with this timid look in her eyes. After hesitating for a long while, she carefully pulled out a battered old piggy bank. I don't have a family anymore. Could you be my family? This money. Could I buy you for 2 days? Even just 1 day is fine. Looking at her hopeful little face, the words to reject her were right on the tip of my tongue. It's just that, my parents had suddenly passed away, and right after that, I got fired from my job. And when my girlfriend of many years found out about it, she dumped me too. Even my landlord kicked me out onto the streets. And the $137 left in my wallet was my absolute last bit of savings in this unfamiliar city, right now, as I stood there in the pouring rain. But the very next moment, I suddenly felt something poke me right in the back of the head. I turned around, only to see a hand so slender and frail, you could almost see the veins. It was clumsily holding up an umbrella, as if trying to shield me from the rain. It wasn't until I fully turned around that I realized it was a young girl sitting in a wheelchair. She was terribly skinny, and her cheeks were deathly pale. Her messy hair was plastered to her skin, but it still couldn't hide her delicate, pretty face. Half of her body was completely soaked by the rain, but she didn't seem to care at all. She was just stubbornly trying to hold that umbrella over me. Seeing her struggle, almost trying to stand up just to keep me dry, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. I never thought I'd hit rock bottom so hard, that I'd actually need a disabled girl to take care of me. But before I could even bow my head to thank her, her body slowly started sliding backward. That's when I realized we were on a slope. With no time to mourn the dropped umbrella, I bolted forward and chased after her. Every time she tried to grab the wheels with her little hands to stop herself, her panicked struggling just made the wheelchair slide down even faster. Thank God, at the very last second, I managed to grab the wheelchair in time. But because of the sudden stop, the umbrella went flying and smacked right onto the top of her head. It made her look exactly like a little mushroom on wheels. I quickly flipped the mushroom cap off to check on her. Hey, are you okay? She looked completely dazed as she shook her little head. Hey, little girl, why are you out here all alone so late at night? But the moment the words left my mouth, I regretted it. That sounded exactly like the classic line of a creepy weirdo. And sure enough, it was like she triggered some kind of defense mechanism. She shrank back into her wheelchair like a terrified little kitten. I was just out for a stroll. You should hurry home. Your family must be worried sick about you. I don't have a family. My grandma passed away. I suddenly realized I had hit a nerve. At the same time, a terrifying thought started spinning in my head. How was a disabled girl supposed to survive all on her own, without any family? But that wasn't something I needed to be worrying about. After all, right now, I couldn't even feed myself. Maybe it was just out of guilt, but I decided to walk her home myself anyway. After pushing her into the elevator, I turned around, getting ready to leave. But right then, she reached out with her tiny hand and tugged at the corner of my shirt. Hearing what she said, I couldn't help but smile to myself. This poor girl was nervous as hell just talking to someone, and yet she still had the heart to worry about whether I'd get drenched in the rain. Tell you what, why don't you lend me your umbrella, and we can set up a time tomorrow for me to return it to you. Now hurry on back inside. It's late, you gotta be careful of bad guys out here. The girl was clearly even more frightened now, but her fingers still stubbornly refused to let go of my shirt. I understood now. She was trying to get me to stay in her own clumsy little way. So, I decided to play the good guy all the way to the end and take her upstairs before leaving. But when I finally made it to the top floor, I realized her home wasn't actually there. It was even higher up, out on the rain-soaked rooftop. There were no ramps or elevators here, just a set of steep, rain-slicked concrete stairs stretching all the way into the gloomy darkness. I couldn't even imagine how much courage it took for this wheelchair-bound girl just to go downstairs. Luckily, she was incredibly light. I easily carried her, wheelchair and all, right up to the roof. After unlocking the door, the first thing I saw in the center of the living room was a black and white memorial photo. An old lady was smiling so kindly in the picture. But over by the entrance, there were still several bags of trash piled up. After all, just taking care of herself was already a huge struggle, let alone going all the way downstairs to take out the trash. But the more I realized this, the louder the question echoed in my head. Why would such a timid little girl go outside in the middle of the night? Just as I turned around to leave, she suddenly spoke up in a timid, confused little voice. Since you're already here, why are you leaving? Hearing that made my whole body stiffen in shock. But when I looked back at her, her pure, innocent eyes completely chased away any dirty thoughts. That's when it hit me. This girl's common sense was completely warped. She had absolutely no idea just how dangerous it was to bring a strange man home. So, I leaned down to give her a little lecture. Bringing strangers home is really dangerous. Especially a sketchy guy like me. The girl looked exactly like a little kid who just got caught doing something wrong. And instantly tensed up. I haven't. You're the first one. And I am an adult. I even have an ID card. Only that last sentence came out completely smooth. Hey, you're missing the point entirely, aren't you? I purposely put on a stern face. It's not about whether you're an adult or not. Promise me, never bring strange men home ever again. As soon as I said that and turned to leave, she grabbed onto my shirt again. Then, if you don't leave, it won't count as bringing a stranger home next time. I let out a heavy sigh. It wasn't just a headache from our total lack of communication. My heart actually ached for her because I knew exactly how that kind of loneliness felt. But look, I'm no saint either. Besides, she was a completely defenseless girl. Who knew if my own dark side might suddenly snap one day? One rotten, messed up life is enough. At least don't let the maggots crawl onto someone else. Listen to me, I know you really need someone right now. But even if I stay today, what about tomorrow? I have to make a living, you know? I can't just stay here forever. I know it sounds really cruel, but you have to learn how to face things on your own. Seeing her little head drop lower and lower, I realized I might have been a bit too harsh. Look, it's not like I have some rich sugar mommy paying my bills. I'm practically starving to death myself. Hey, how about this? Wait until I get back on my feet and then we'll see. Surprisingly, those words made the girl's eyes completely light up. She hurriedly pushed her wheelchair into the bedroom, and a few moments later, she came out clutching a beat-up old piggy bank and said, I'll take care of you. This is all I have. How many days will this cover? The girl's voice got quieter and quieter. It was obvious she knew this little bit of cash couldn't even keep a pet fish alive, but she still stubbornly held up that piggy bank. Seeing her risking it all like this, I didn't even know what to say, but I fully realized how serious this was. This money was probably her very last bit of savings. If I just walked away and left her alone, even if she starved to death in this room, nobody might even notice. So, I asked her with a dead serious tone, where are your parents? You need to tell me the truth. Mom and Dad don't want me anymore. They went overseas, and I can't reach Grandma either. Terrified by my harsh tone, the girl trembled, but she still managed to stutter out her answer. A crushing wave of helplessness washed over me. Seeing I still hadn't reacted, she stubbornly held the piggy bank up higher. Her arms were clearly getting tired, but her eyes remained locked onto mine. I'll buy you for 2 days. Even just 1 day is fine. You can't buy and sell people. You can't. But Mom always said she was going to sell me. Her words drove into my heart like rusty nails. I wanted so badly to beat the living crap out of her scumbag parents. And it seemed she read the answer in my silence. Her long bottled-up emotions finally hit their breaking point. I'm sorry. I'm just so scared. Massive tears dropped onto her completely numb legs. Watching this unfold, I totally panicked. Whoa, stop. Please don't cry. Let's just talk this out calmly, okay? To my surprise, that sentence worked like a pause button. She instantly went dead silent. But the tears kept plop-plopping down her cheeks, and she even started pouting. She literally looked like one of those angry, pouty memes. Anyone walking in would think I was the bad guy here. Finally, totally out of options, I sighed. What exactly do you need me to do, boss? I want to eat. Honestly, before I even asked, I had braced myself for anything. And all she managed to squeeze out was a dinner invite? Is that a no? It's just a meal, it's literally no big deal. Why didn't you just say that earlier? Do you have any groceries in the house? Carrots and eggs. Oh, right. There's still some rice in the rice cooker. Saying that, she suddenly ducked her head down in guilt. Seeing her look so guilty, I didn't think much of it. Figuring her social anxiety was just acting up, I headed straight to the kitchen without another word, fully planning to whip up the egg fried rice I had in mind. But stepping inside, I realized that, apart from a range hood, the kitchen only had a few lonely eggs in the corner. Some totally shriveled carrots, and 2 insanely battered pots. Honestly, it was so pathetic it made my heart ache. But thankfully, the oil, salt, and soy sauce were all fully stocked. Whipping up a quick golden fried rice would be a piece of cake. But when I confidently popped open the rice cooker, I found a literal fuzzy gray forest growing inside, and the rice at the bottom was hard enough to be used as a murder weapon. I took a deep breath, my eyes already scanning the room for the culprit, only to spot a certain someone sneakily rolling away in her wheelchair. Just as she was about to sneak back into her room. Stop right there. The girl froze instantly. She wanted to run, but didn't dare. All she could do was look at me with those big, pitiful eyes. Honestly, her reaction was so ridiculous it actually made me laugh. Come on, explain this to me. Well, it's called overnight rice. You never asked how many nights. Tell the truth. How many days has this thing been sitting here? Seriously, with your cooking skills, you managed to grow a perfect petri dish of mold in just 3 or 4 days. It was the rice cooker's fault. Seeing her mutter her little excuses, looking so wronged, I could only sigh and accept my bad luck. But halfway through scrubbing the pot, a horrifying thought hit me. How many days has it been since you last ate? The girl just lowered her head. Right on cue, her stomach let out a loud growl. That told me everything I needed to know. Turns out, this little troublemaker was absolutely starving. The moment I realized that, I stopped messing around and scrubbed that pot until it shined. Meanwhile, she waited obediently in the living room, occasionally poking her head in to check on me. Or more accurately, checking on the rice cooker. About 20 minutes later, I walked out carrying a pot of perfectly cooked, mouth-watering fried rice. But then I noticed, there wasn't even a dining table in the room. Like magic, the girl pulled out a small folding table and a heat pad out of nowhere. I handed her a spoon, and she practically attacked it, scooping up a massive bite. She shoved it in her mouth without even blowing on it. Hot, hot, hot. Slow down, will you? Nobody's going to steal it from you. Then I took a bite myself. Not bad at all. But the moment I said that, she suddenly went completely quiet. Then she buried her face in the bowl and started shoveling the rice even faster. At first, I just thought the poor kid was starved. But halfway through, tears suddenly started streaming down her face. She didn't stop eating, though. Hey, why are you crying now? Don't tell me I didn't wash the pot well enough and gave you food poisoning? I started panicking, but then she laughed through her tears. She wiped her eyes and shook her head. I'm fine. It just made me think of my grandma. She used to say the exact same thing. I was about to say something else, but her warm, innocent smile completely caught me off guard. Right then and there, the heavy feeling in my chest just melted away. I have to admit, my heart actually skipped a beat. No, snap out of it. I literally slapped my own face, which completely startled her. After calming her down, I made up my mind. I'd teach her some basic survival skills, and then I was out of here. So, I asked her where she went to school. I mean, given her age, she should have at least finished vocational high school by now. But she seemed really sensitive about the topic. She looked down, fidgeting for a long time before whispering, middle school. I only made it to middle school. The other kids, they always made fun of me. It made me really sad, so my grandma told me I didn't have to go anymore. But I could have handled it, really. I let out a heavy sigh. Shut away at home for so long, completely disconnected from the world, and now, even the only person who ever loved her. Her grandma had passed away. Forget about having normal social skills. Mentally, she was probably still stuck at the age she dropped out. One thing was crystal clear, sending her back to school was a total dead end. So, about community subsidies and stuff, has your family ever gotten them before? I really don't know. Just as I was getting a headache over her not knowing a single thing, she suddenly broke my train of thought. Could I, maybe draw a picture of you? I'm just scared that once you leave, you won't come back. Before I could even reply, she spun her wheelchair around and darted back into her room. Curious, I followed right behind her. And the moment I opened that door, I was absolutely stunned. It felt like stepping into a magical, paint-splattered galaxy. But right near the ceiling, there was still a patch of blank space. I figured that must be as high as her wheelchair could reach. I absolutely love drawing. The moment she mentioned drawing, her eyes instantly lit up with pure confidence. Still, I couldn't even begin to imagine how incredibly hard it must have been for her to paint those walls. She just happily whipped out her sketchbook, blinking those big, bright eyes. Glancing back and forth between the paper and me, in less than half an hour, she had a portrait all finished for me. I gently took the sketchbook from her slightly trembling hands, but the second I actually looked at the drawing, I completely froze. In the picture, I was crouching in the pouring rain, holding a bowl of egg-fried rice, while a tiny white cat pawed at my pant leg, staring up at the rice with big, hungry eyes. I honestly never expected that, in her eyes, I would look like this. Wait a second, though. Where did this little cat come from? She didn't answer my question. Instead, she snatched the pen back at lightning speed. But I still noticed her ears were turning so red they were practically smoking. That's when it hit me, the cat was actually her. I subconsciously glanced at the top of her head, half expecting to see actual cat ears, but instead, I was met with a pair of wary, suspicious eyes. She shrank back into her wheelchair a little, not wanting to make things weird. I quickly changed the subject. Hey, do you mind if I check out your other drawings? Sure, this is Grandma Zhang from downstairs. Whenever I used to sneak outside, I'd always see her standing there, waving right up at me. Oh, and here's Grandpa Lee. He's a carpenter. My old wheelchair was actually built by him. As I kept flipping through the sketchbook, I realized that every single person who had ever helped her or simply crossed her path was drawn inside this little book. Honestly, calling it a sketchbook didn't feel right. It was more like an incredibly cute, heartwarming diary. And then, I had a brilliant idea. I pulled out my phone and checked the running rates for art commissions. A single piece usually went for $30 to $50. But for a girl like her, that would be more than enough to support herself. So, I pulled up a cute little chibi avatar online and asked her if she could draw something like that. She gave a little nod. But, she only knew how to draw on paper. Paper wasn't going to cut it. She'd need to get a drawing tablet first, at least to practice digital art. Luckily, when I checked online, a beginner's tablet was only around $100. Totally within my budget. Plus, I had an old laptop gathering dust back at my place, which would totally do the trick. But then I started worrying that she might not even have a phone. Thankfully, she said she did. But the moment she pulled that absolute antique out of her pocket, a flip phone so old it belonged in a museum, my last shred of hope officially died. Will this work? Let's just worry about the phone situation later. After all, for a guy who can barely afford to eat, the risk of messing this up is just way too high. Plus, there's no guarantee she'll even get any commissions. Honestly, for a second, I really thought about giving up. But then I saw that glimmer of hope still shining in her eyes. I just gritted my teeth. To hell with this crappy life. Things are already this miserable anyway, I might as well just do whatever the hell I want for once. Suddenly, I remembered the apartment my parents were renting before they passed away. Even though there's still half a month left on the lease, I should be able to get the 3,000 yuan deposit back. Tomorrow, I'll hit up the community center to ask about her subsidy and then find myself a new job. If I budget carefully, keeping the two of us afloat for a month or two shouldn't be a problem. The rest is entirely up to her. So, do you want to try drawing to earn some money for food? Hearing her say yes, I instantly felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. I figured I'd head back and pack up the old apartment first. But just as I was leaving, she tugged at the corner of my shirt again. Are you coming back tomorrow? Seeing how incredibly cautious she was acting, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Thank God she wasn't asking me to spend the night. See you tomorrow morning, then. First thing the next morning, I called the landlord to get my deposit back. Maybe because he heard about what happened to my parents, the landlord actually refunded the remaining half-month's rent too. Right after that, I went down to the commercial street and found myself a job at a print shop, making 3,000 a month. By the time I finished running around, it was already noon. That's when it hit me. I still had a hungry little mushroom sprite waiting to be fed. I booked it all the way back to her place in a total panic. But the second I stepped out of the elevator, I caught this awful burning smell. Realizing something was very wrong, I dashed over and started pounding on the door. Thank God, it opened from the inside a few seconds later. A huge cloud of black smoke immediately poured out of the room. And there was this little wheelchair monster right at the doorway, coughing her lungs out. Her eyes were darting around like a kid who just got caught doing something bad. You're back. Seeing that she was safe and sound, I was flooded with relief. I sprinted straight into the kitchen and yanked the plug on the rice cooker, which was basically spewing black smoke. When I popped the lid open, I was just absolutely speechless. The pot had boiled completely dry, not a single drop of water left. The bottom was literally burned to a crisp. I whipped my head around, and caught the little mushroom sprite trying to sneak away. Care to explain what on earth happened here? Well, I just wanted to try cooking something, but I was scared you'd catch me doing a bad job. And then I hesitated for so long that I just completely forgot about it. I was so mad I was grinding my teeth. If I hadn't shown up right then, who knows what kind of massive disaster this girl would have caused. Choshu, if you ever try to cook again, I swear to God I will stew you instead. But seeing how terribly guilty she looked, all my anger just instantly evaporated. Shoo, go wander off somewhere else. I'll call you when the food's actually edible. Oh, Choshu mumbled, slowly spinning her wheelchair around and rolling out of the kitchen. After we finished eating, Choshu started patting her slightly bulging tummy. She actually didn't eat that much, probably 2 or 3 times less than a normal person. She just gets full incredibly fast. Seeing her like that, I couldn't resist teasing her. Look at you, your little tummy is completely stuffed. Wanna go out for a stroll to help digest all that food? Choshu obediently nodded, but then she realized what I said and quickly covered her stomach. My tummy isn't stuffed. I noticed that even though she still spoke a bit slowly, she wasn't stuttering nearly as much as before. So, I told Choshu to grab all her ID documents, and we got ready to head to the Civil Affairs Bureau. But the moment she heard the 3 words, Civil Affairs Bureau, Choshu instantly panicked. The Civil Affairs Bureau? But we just met. Isn't this moving a bit too fast? Seriously, what goes on in that little head of yours? Where did your mind even go? I'm telling you to grab your disability card, your ID, and whatever else, so we can go ask where your subsidy money is being sent. Or if anyone's even claimed it. I stared deadpan at the girl in the wheelchair. Choshu finally realized she had totally misunderstood. The atmosphere instantly became incredibly awkward. I ended up running outside to wait for her, though I honestly have no idea what I was running away from. Because right now, I just can't figure her out. If you say she's just like a kid, well, she instantly knew what the Civil Affairs Bureau meant. But when it comes to basic common sense, she's completely clueless. Could she really just be a pure airhead? I mean, she can't be secretly manipulative deep down, right? Just thinking about that made me shiver. Right at that moment, Choo carefully poked her little head out the door. Seeing that I was still there, she let out a huge sigh of relief. Hurry up and come out. What are you staring at? Any later and we'll have to wait in line. If I get tired, I'm dumping you out and sitting in the wheelchair myself. You're so mean. Choo was clearly spooked by that. Her two little hands pushed hard against the wheels to roll herself out. Seeing that, I couldn't hold back a laugh. But when Granny Jo saw me, she stopped me without a second thought. She glared at me, full of suspicion, terrified that the poor girl was being scammed by some creep. Seeing that, I quickly explained everything. Once she heard that I was the one who saved Choo yesterday, Granny Jo's eyes lit up with surprise. She looked me up and down and said, "Young man, you might be a bit broke. But at least you seem honest. It's just a pity about this. Sweet girl, her grandma passed away so suddenly, and my old bones won't be able to look after her for much longer." Saying that, Granny Jo gave a meaningful look to Choo, whose face was completely red. Catching on, I quickly changed the subject. "Granny Jo, do you happen to know where Choo's disability checks are being sent?" Turns out, Granny Jo had no idea either. "Choo, do you remember the PIN code to your grandma's bank book?" Choo just shook her head. "Well, that's a problem. So, I decided to take her to the bank and open a new card for her. That way, we can just update the deposit account and save ourselves the hassle of running around later." So, I pushed Choo all the way to the bank. Along the way, she kept turning her little head to peek at me. It took her forever to gather the courage to ask, Am I going to get my own bank book? Keep dreaming, you're not getting a bank book." Seeing her swallow her words, I just couldn't resist teasing the poor girl a bit more. "But hey, the good news is, you're getting your very own debit card. It's way better than a bank book." "Is a debit card expensive?" "Nope, it only costs $10 to open one." "That's so expensive. That's my entire allowance for a week." "Wait, what year is this allowance from?" Middle school, I think." I took a long, hard breath, my heart aching for her all over again. "Don't worry, from now on, I'll figure out a way for us to make some real money. We'll make tens, no, hundreds of times your old allowance." "Ah, really?" Choo looked up with that adorable, empty little head of hers. She clearly had absolutely no concept of numbers. Her big, clear eyes were just shining with excitement over the promise itself. But the moment we stepped into the crowded bank, her social anxiety completely took over again. When the clerk asked her what she needed help with, she started stuttering and frantically tugging at my shirt. She was clinging to it like a lifeline. So, I nudged Choo, signaling her to slide her ID through the little window to the clerk. But instead, Choo shoved her entire bag through the slot like she was putting a coin in a vending machine. The clerk was absolutely dumbfounded, but luckily we still managed to get her bank card sorted out without any issues. We even set up online banking for her while we were at it, so she won't have to run downstairs every time she needs money. On our way to the Civil Affairs Bureau, Choo kept clutching that bank card tightly in her hands. She was staring at it, letting out these little giggles. Seeing her like that, I just couldn't resist teasing her. "It's literally just a bank card, you know. Do you really need to be this happy about it? Careful, or someone might think you're a clueless little kid and kidnap you." "That's not true. I'm not stupid. You're the only one who calls me stupid. You're the bad guy here." I was completely speechless, and sure enough, even the people walking by were starting to give me dirty looks. I panicked and instinctively placed my hand on Choo's head. If I let her keep talking, I'd probably be dragged off to the police station in no time. But the second my hand touched her, she instantly went dead silent. That's when I realized I was crossing a line, and I quickly pulled my hand away to apologize. But instead, Choo actually started blaming herself. It's okay. I just got a little too excited. I seriously wanted to chop off my own disobedient hand right then. It's just, she looked so incredibly cute just now, that I couldn't resist giving her a few head pats. I stumbled through some messy explanation, thinking that would be enough to brush it off. But after thinking for a few seconds, she suddenly blurted out, then why did you pat my head?" That direct hit caught me completely off guard, but seeing her looking at me with such genuine, innocent eyes, I debated for a moment before deciding to just come clean. "I just thought you looked as cute as a little animal." I just couldn't help myself. I turned my head away, pretending to play it cool, and stole a quick glance at her reaction. To my surprise, she just let out a soft "oh," before turning her face away. But honestly, it looked like she was secretly smiling to herself. I didn't think too much of it, though. I just figured she was happy about being called cute. It wasn't long before we arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, and the line was already pretty long. Choshu looked around at all the beaming couples and suddenly asked, out of pure curiosity. Are all these people here to get married? Yeah, I suppose so. I didn't dare say too much, terrified of filling her head with even more unnecessary ideas. But then, Choshu pointed toward a gloomy-looking man and woman standing a little ways off. What about them? Are they getting married too? They're probably here to get a divorce. Or, well, maybe they're just handling some other paperwork. I'm not really sure myself. Want me to take you over there to ask them? Just as I thought, the second I suggested going over, Choshu instantly shrank back in fear. You know so much about this. You must have been married a ton of times, haven't you? Hey, don't say crazy things like that. I've never been married. This is my first time at the Civil Affairs Bureau, too. Then, will I get married someday too? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. It all depends on what you want to do. So, does that mean I get to choose someone too? A tiny spark of hope lit up in Chosu's eyes, but it vanished just as quickly. But, would anyone ever choose me? Hearing her sound so heartbreakingly insecure, a surge of sudden, unexplainable anger flared up inside me. Who exactly said those things to you? It was my mom. Mom used to say that someone like me just being able to get married would be an absolute blessing. I think she's right. If someone out there was actually willing to choose me, I'd be more than happy. Chosu's voice grew quieter and quieter, her hands gripping tightly onto the wheelchair beneath her. I quickly leaned in, comforting her so she wouldn't overthink things. You're amazing, so amazing that anyone would feel inadequate just looking at you. Really? Well, look at me. Aren't I feeling so inadequate right now that I don't even dare to look at you? Maybe it was out of guilt. I instinctively avoided Chosu's gaze, but after thinking for a moment, she suddenly blurted out, and here I thought it was just because you didn't like looking at me. Saying I didn't like it would be a flat-out lie, but if I admitted that I did like it, things would definitely take a weird turn. Now I was completely at a loss for words. Thank God she didn't keep pressing the issue, but she wasn't done asking questions either. Does that mean I'll end up getting divorced like them someday, too? They all looked so sad, just like when my mom and dad used to fight. I don't know. To be honest, I had just gone through a bad breakup myself. So who was I to answer a question like that? Thinking about my own messed up life, I couldn't help but laugh at myself, feeling a wave of sadness wash over me. But the very next second, I suddenly felt a tiny hand gently touch mine. Please don't be sad. Your hands are so big. Big enough to completely cover my whole head. Just like my grandpa's hands when I was little. Grandpa was a good person. So you must be a good person, too. I couldn't hold back a laugh. How on earth did this girl's weird brain connect having big hands with being a good person? But I had to admit, ever since I met Choshu, I've been feeling a whole lot better. Soon enough, it was our turn at the counter. But this time, I didn't wait for Choshu to speak up. Instead, I beat her to it and asked the lady behind the glass. Hi there, we'd like to ask about her subsidy, and we also need to change the bank account it's being sent to. Please show me your ID and relevant documents. I nudged Choshu, who was still zoning out. She quickly dug out a pile of documents from her bag. Clearly, after what just happened, sliding them through the window felt a lot more natural for her. But when the clerk asked why she was changing the account, Chosu's brain totally short-circuited again. She instinctively glanced at me, but not wanting to be a burden. She tried to speak up, but after struggling for what felt like forever, she just couldn't get the words out. It was so obvious she still hadn't overcome her social anxiety. So, I quickly jumped in to save her. Her grandmother passed away recently. I see. Please show me the death certificate, then. Then fill out this form. Once you're done, just sign at the bottom and you're good to go. Choshu let out a huge sigh of relief. She obediently picked up the pen and started filling it out. But that calm didn't even last a minute before the clerk shattered it. By the way, you two are a couple, right? Do you want to go ahead and get your marriage certificate while you're here? Newlyweds get free rice, flour, and cooking oil right now. You even get a free wash basin and a carton of eggs. Oh crap, I thought to myself. I almost forgot we were literally at the Civil Affairs Bureau. I frantically explained that we were just friends. Stealing a quick glance at Choshu beside me, little did I know, the poor girl's face was already beet red. If I hadn't stepped in when I did, the pen in her hand probably would have scribbled right off the page and into orbit. Before we left, I double-checked with the clerk and found out the subsidy would be deposited in just 2 days. I instantly breathed a massive sigh of relief, even though it was only 1,350 yuan a month. Combined with the 3,000 yuan from my new job, at least this girl wouldn't have to go hungry this month. But after leaving the marriage registry, I realized the girl was still hung up on our conversation from earlier. She seemed to have this desperate need to get married, because Grandma said, once you're married, you'll have someone to stay by your side forever and ever. We'd be happy together. He'd blow on my scraped knees when I fall, and he'd love me despite all my flaws. Her eyes were absolutely sparkling with hope. But I also realized, all of this girl's expectations for marriage boiled down to one simple thing: she just wanted some company. Well, do you have a type you like? You can't just pick a random guy you hate and spend the rest of your life with him, right? I haven't really thought about that. But Grandma said, if you meet the guy you want to marry, just trick him into coming home and win his heart with your cooking. I've gotta say, her family is pretty hardcore. But the moment I thought about her absolute disaster of a cooking, I couldn't help but say a little prayer for whatever poor soul ends up with her. Seeing the look on my face, Choshu clearly started losing her confidence. But she still pouted stubbornly. I promise I can make it taste really good. Yeah, I believe you. And if not, I'll just kidnap him and force him to cook for me. Hearing that made me shiver. It reminded me of exactly how Choshu and I first met. Why does it feel like she's talking about me? But looking at this silly, innocent girl, she didn't seem like some evil mastermind. So, I decided to test the waters. How is that any different from a starving person dragging some random guy off the street? I didn't expect her to actually nod. Do you even know what dragging a guy off the street means? Why are you nodding? Granny Lee told me, it means taking a big, strong young man home. And then making out with him. Geez, this old lady. What the heck has she been teaching this innocent girl? Seeing the tips of Chozu's ears turn bright red, I suddenly realized just how messed up this was. Do you actually understand what that means? I know, I'm not a little kid anymore. I know how these things work. Choshu tucked her chin, burying her face into her chest. But she stubbornly kept trying to explain herself. I know bringing you home yesterday was a bad idea. But you looked just like me back then. I thought you needed someone by your side, too. My breath caught in my throat. I pushed her wheelchair in dead silence for a long time before it finally hit me. This girl knew from the very beginning. She knew exactly what a guy like me could have done to her. But, I just really wanted someone to keep me company. The way she was just throwing herself away, she looked exactly like the old me. But seeing her like this only made the protective rage inside me burn even hotter. Who the hell told you to do something so stupid just because you're lonely? Did you ever stop to think what would happen if I was some other guy? Do you have any idea what they would have done to you? But you didn't hurt me. That's because I was too damn scared to. Because I already feel like a piece of trash. Do you honestly think people cherish things that are just handed to them? They'll just play you for an absolute fool. I'm sorry, but I knew you were a good person. Big, heavy tears started rolling down her cheeks. Getting yelled at, and she still manages to hit me with the nice guy card. I was so mad I actually laughed. So I just cut to the chase. So, you really did plan to drag me home off the street, huh? Not at first. I just wanted someone to stay with me. But when I realized you were a good guy, and then, after we got to the marriage registry, I finally realized that this was an option. I'm so sorry. I just rushed into it. After that, Choshu didn't say another word. Luckily, I snapped out of it in time. Even though she seemed to have it all figured out, her priorities were clearly completely backward. Her desire to get married wasn't driven by love or passion. She just wanted to get married for the sake of having company. Even though I was honestly a little tempted, taking advantage of a girl when she's this vulnerable is something I just couldn't bring myself to do. So, I gently lifted Chozu's chin, forcing her to look right into my eyes. Let me ask you, do you even like me? I don't know. You don't even know if you actually like someone, and you want to get married? Don't you think that's completely absurd? Seeing Chozu's lips tremble, looking like she was about to burst into tears, I realized I was being a bit too harsh and awkwardly scratched my head. Didn't I promise you I wouldn't run away? Why don't you take companionship out of the equation for a second, and actually take the time to see if I'm right for you? Figure out what you really want, and then make those kinds of decisions. We can do that? Hearing that, Chozu's eyes lit up again. It was like a whole new world just opened up for her. I sighed and affectionately rubbed her head. Duh, it's just your legs that don't work, you're not dying. What's the rush? But Choshu didn't say a word. Instead, her face just got redder and redder. What's wrong? Do you have a fever? You're too close. Snapping back to reality, I quickly took a step back, apologizing for being so bold. But Choshu just hesitated for a moment, and whispered something that made my heart skip a beat. Then what if I do figure it out? Would you still choose me? After saying that, Choshu nervously glanced down at her legs. Her insecurities were practically spilling out all over the place. But the very next second, her wheelchair suddenly jolted forward. I had grabbed the handles and started pushing her along at a brisk pace. Come on, let's go get those groceries. Weren't you drafting a free helper? Since you've already dragged me into this, you might as well put me to work. Choshu let out a little awe. She probably wanted to turn around and see if I was mad. But after hesitating for a few seconds, she kept her head facing forward. Finally, she let out a cute little giggle, quietly repeating what I had just said. Since you've already dragged me into this, I gotta admit, she is ridiculously adorable when she's acting all silly like this. I couldn't resist reaching out to pat her little head again. Except this time, I didn't bother making any excuses, just casually pretending like nothing happened. Why are you patting my head again? Hey, what's done is done. What are you gonna do about it? Besides, you're the one who drafted me as your free helper. Can't I at least get a little head pat as payment? But Choshu just lifted her chin slightly, the insecurity in her voice fading just a bit. So, does that mean you think I'm cute? Man, this girl was getting harder and harder to brush off. Seeing how I was hesitating to answer, Choshu simply gathered up her courage and blurted out, I think you're really cute too. So, can I pat your head too? Her eyes were absolutely sparkling with anticipation, while my brain completely short-circuited. Is this girl seriously always this direct? And how in the world did she come to the conclusion that I was cute? Right when you were getting mad at me. You don't have some weird masochistic streak, do you? Should we take you to the hospital to get that checked out? No, I definitely don't. I just know you only got so mad because you actually care about me. So, even though it was a little scary, I still thought you were super cute. And you still claim you don't like being bullied. I do not. You know perfectly well I'm just slow with my words. You're bullying me again. I'm done talking. Whenever Choshu gets anxious, her ability to speak just completely short-circuits. She ended up just puffing out her cheeks in a cute, angry pout. But right now, my attention wasn't really on her. It was on a mobile phone store by the side of the road. I hesitated for a moment, told Choshu to wait right there for me, and finally bit the bullet and ducked inside. I darted back out a few minutes later, tossing a small white box right into her lap. Is this for me? Choshu stared blankly at the box, taking a long time to process it. Well, yeah, what else would I have gone in there for? Just, consider it an apology for snapping at you earlier. I couldn't quite bring myself to look her in the eye, feeling exactly like an awkward teenager giving a girl a gift for the very first time. This is way too expensive. I can't accept this. It wasn't expensive. It's literally the cheapest model they had. I couldn't afford a pricey one anyway. Choshu kept staring at the little box, clearly absolutely in love with it. But she stubbornly insisted on handing it back to me. So, I just took a big step backward, staying just out of her reach. Believe it or not, she actually started rolling her wheelchair toward me to give chase. Terrified she might accidentally tip over and fall, I quickly spun another excuse. Look, Choshu, you've already roped me in as your personal chef. Your chef gets you a phone, just so I can rush back home the second you text me that you're hungry. When you think about it that way, shouldn't you keep it? Is that how it works? Yes, 100% yes. Besides, you're going to need a phone if you want to make money later on. If it really bothers you, just pay me back once you're rich. After a whole lot of back and forth, Choshu finally, reluctantly, accepted the phone. But she solemnly swore that the moment she started making money, she would definitely pay me back. Seeing that it was getting pretty late, I grabbed the handles of her wheelchair again, ready to go buy some groceries and make dinner. The exact second I mentioned food, Choshu completely perked up, but a split second later, a thought seemed to cross her mind. And she suddenly got really anxious. Wait, you didn't just buy me this phone, so you could ditch me and run away, did you? How long are you going to stay with me? You can ask me that again after you've stuffed your face. Autumn evenings always got dark so fast. Looking out through the attic window, there was this really unique, comforting sense of peace. Looking completely satisfied, Choshu puffed out her slightly full little tummy and stretched her arms with a big yawn. Her thin t-shirt rode up just enough to reveal a sliver of her pale, slender waist. That incredibly fragile, skinny frame of hers was completely on display right then. Honestly, I get the feeling that this girl is getting more and more comfortable around me. Catching onto my stare, Choshu quickly covered her stomach with both hands. What are you looking at? I just kept staring at that waist of hers. It was literally as narrow as a handspan. I swallowed hard. Oh, please, you're basically just skin and bones. What's there to look at anyway? Skinny is pretty. Choshu pouted defensively, totally unconvinced. Oh, wow, look who's getting all vain on me. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. With a figure like yours, you'd have to hug a telephone pole just to survive a typhoon. You'd be much better off spending your time eating more. But I really can't eat another bite, hee. Choshu rubbed her little stomach, her smile absolutely radiating pure happiness. It seriously felt like, to her, just having a full stomach was the greatest joy in the entire world. Are you sure you're totally stuffed? I asked, just to double check. Choshu nodded emphatically, her eyes suddenly lighting up with excitement. So, does that mean I can ask? I jolted, instantly springing to my feet. Since you're full, I'm gonna take off. I'll come back and feed you tomorrow. You're trying to weasel out of this. I have no idea what you're talking about. Honestly, I just wanted to escape. That question I had barely managed to dodge earlier, whether or not I would choose her. Deep down, I knew exactly what I wanted. But look at me, living like a total loser. I couldn't even get my own life together. How could I possibly give her a proper answer? For most kids who grow up poor, an inferiority complex is just carved right into our bones. How was I any better off than this silly girl standing right in front of me? But I couldn't deny it. In that exact moment, a fierce, burning desire washed over me. I wanted money. I wanted the confidence to stand tall, and the means to just, finally live life on my own terms. But for now, it was just a pipe dream. Choshu seemed to notice the gloomy look in my eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but in the end, she didn't say a word. It wasn't until I shook my head and turned to leave that she suddenly blurted out. "Could you not go?" My footsteps instantly halted. I'd completely lost count of how many times she had asked me to stay. But when it came to this girl, who looked just like a clueless little kitten, I somehow always found myself having endless patience. What is it? What's the excuse this time? I turned my head, my tone light and breezy. "You don't have anywhere to stay, do you?" Choshu tried to look at me, but couldn't quite bring herself to meet my eyes. "How did you know?" I stayed silent for a long time, before finally letting out a sigh of defeat. You kinda stink," Choshu muttered under her breath. That's when it hit me. From getting caught in the pouring rain yesterday up until right now, I hadn't changed my clothes once, and totally forgot to take a shower. I still tried to put up a desperate fight. Couldn't it just be that I'm a naturally gross guy? How could a slob be so hardworking when cleaning the kitchen? The whole kitchen is literally sparkling. Alright, stop, you win. I threw my hands up in total surrender. But I still can't stay, I insisted, standing my ground. Have you even thought about where I'd sleep? We can't exactly share the same bed, can we? Even if I crash on the floor, wouldn't it be awkward if you get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night? Plus, are you really that sure I wouldn't get any funny ideas about you? My tone completely softened. I know you're just taking pity on me. I know. Choshu nodded with utter honesty, before firing a question right back at me. So, are you admitting that you do have funny ideas about me? I nearly choked. I stumbled backward on pure instinct. I seriously never expected this girl to catch on so damn fast. I rubbed my temples hard, not daring to give her a straight answer, but I didn't deny it, either. Listen, could you please stop staring at me with those big, innocent eyes? And asking a question like that with such an innocent tone? You're gonna make me feel incredibly guilty, you know. Choshu averted her gaze. Then, what am I supposed to do? Look, I admit it. You're gorgeous, and you're incredibly sweet. Sometimes you drive me a little crazy, but you're also the exact perfect amount of cute. Any normal guy would have thoughts about you. I closed the distance between us, crouching down to look her right in the eye. But precisely because of that I have to hold myself back even more. Do you understand? I get it. Choshu nodded obediently. She tilted her head again and asked, then, does that mean, if I'm the one who falls for you first, you wouldn't feel guilty? I was completely dumbfounded, but right as I was zoning out, I felt a cool, soft touch press against my cheek. By the time I snapped out of it, all I saw was her delicate, fair face. Pulling back instantly, turning beet red right before my eyes. But she tried to play it cool, staring back at me stubbornly, as if she were desperately waiting for an answer. I subconsciously touched my cheek. Then I shot right up. Whoa, what are you doing? Do you even realize what you're doing? I couldn't even process all the crazy emotions swirling around in my head anymore. I know I'm pretty slow, and I get confused about a lot of things. And I don't really know how I'm supposed to act when I like someone, Choshu stammered. But her earnestness was undeniable. But I am totally sure of one thing. I'm definitely going to try my best to fall in love with you. I'm just borrowing some of my future feelings for you. So, a little kiss should be fine, right? The second she said that, all her courage completely evaporated, and she quickly buried her face in her chest. I was completely speechless. My brain was practically short-circuiting. I choked on my words for a solid minute before blurting out, "You can do that?" "Yeah, you can." Choshu nodded with absolute certainty. "If I can borrow a phone from you right now, and pay you back when I get the money later, then why can't I borrow some feelings from my future self?" So I'm the one who taught her this loophole. I felt like a boomerang had just smacked me right in the back of the head. Once I snapped out of it, I quickly cut her off. Wait, that logic doesn't even make sense. Who in the world borrows feelings from the future? Well, isn't that what a mortgage is? Choshu muttered softly. Plus, if I borrow from myself, I don't even have to pay it back. Don't go using all your clever little tricks on me. Fine, then I'll just use them on someone else. Choshu tilted her head playfully. No way. I blurted out instinctively, and immediately regretted it. I practically wanted to slap myself. Choshu burst out laughing. She was clearly doing it on purpose. Seems like she didn't mind me being all sweaty anymore. I forced a scowl. Where did you even learn all this? From Grandma Jo, Choshu replied, shrinking back a little. Well, she was already thrown under the bus anyway. Might as well let her take the heat. Right as I was muttering to myself, I felt a sudden shove from behind. This girl had somehow sneaked up behind me and was pushing me with all her might. "Hurry up and take a shower. You're all stinky, it's gross." Chushu looked like she was giving it her all, but she barely had any strength. I took a couple of symbolic steps forward. "Are you really sure you want me staying here? I've thought about it, because I've already borrowed my future feelings. So right now, I'm the one making the first move on you. You don't have to feel pressured." Good lord, that is not how this works. My head was pounding and I just started blurting things out. "You don't even know what the future holds. How do you know if you'll end up liking me or hating me? For all we know, we might just end up as total strangers in a while." Chushu instantly dropped her head, completely silent. That's when it hit me. I had struck a nerve right where she was most vulnerable. But just as I opened my mouth to say something, Chushu actually spoke up first. "Then how do you prove it? Can we do it one more time? Are you addicted or something?" I nearly lost my mind, immediately throwing both hands up in surrender. I believe you, okay?" Chushu nodded her head emphatically. She was still being a little pouty, but it was clear she was actually listening to reason. How much of it actually registered, though, was anyone's guess. "Then how about you stay here until you find a place to live? You have to live somewhere, anyway." She stared at me with big, pleading eyes. "Can you give me a reason? A good enough reason to convince me?" I took a deep breath. I was completely helpless against her, but at the same time, I also wanted an excuse to convince myself. Chushu kept quiet for the longest time, before finally declaring in a timid voice, "I don't want anyone else to steal you away." "So you really held that in, huh?" I struggled to force out a single word. "You're not lying to me, are you?" Chushu's eyes widened. "Yeah." I didn't dare look at her. I grabbed my bag from the corner and dashed into the bathroom. "I'm gonna take a shower." The bathroom door slammed shut, followed by the sound of running water, and my agonizing scream. Holy crap, cold water. 10 minutes later, I walked out in a fresh change of clothes, only to find that the wheelchair tracks on the floor had been wiped completely clean. And Chushu, at some point, had moved to sit on the floor, waiting quietly for me. I rubbed my damp hair with a towel. "You wiped the floor? Why did you even get out of your wheelchair?" Seeing me come out, Chushu tilted her head up. "Because sitting down here gets me a little bit closer to you." I swear my heart literally skipped a beat. This girl is just way too direct. "Give me a break, will you?" I desperately tried to ignore my racing heart, and quietly sat down next to her, noticing the brand new phone box sitting right there on the small table. The plastic wrap wasn't even taken off. "Were you just sitting here doing nothing?" "Yeah, why?" Chushu didn't seem to think there was anything weird about it. I couldn't even imagine how lonely and boring her everyday life must be. I subconsciously glanced at her side. It was only then that I realized, this girl who was always in a wheelchair was actually so petite. "Don't you ever try to find something fun to do to pass the time? Isn't it boring just sitting around like this? My mind is completely filled with the image of you sitting right beside me. So it's not boring at all." Chushu raised her head to look up at me. Looking at the radiant sparkle in those big eyes, I felt a sudden, dangerous impulse, and quickly changed the subject. "Well, then you definitely need to learn how to use a phone. Look at you, you're so bored you're starting to hallucinate. Is that right?" "Yes, absolutely yes," I insisted defensively. "Whatever, just play with the phone, play with the phone." I grabbed the box and shoved it into her arms. Chushu held the box, turning it over and over to study it. She picked at it with her fingernails a few times. When that didn't work, she actually tried to tear it open with her teeth. "Can't you just use a key to poke a hole in it?" I facepalmed. Chushu obediently pulled out a key and started poking at it. Pop. The packaging snapped open. A shiny black screen lay quietly inside. She carefully lifted it out with both hands, her big eyes sparkling brighter by the second. "Do you like it?" Seeing her like this, I couldn't help but smile. "I love it." Chushu wobbled as she looked up at me, her big, blinking eyes staring straight into mine. "If you like it, go ahead and open it." I looked away without thinking. My heart raced uncontrollably. This girl always throws out her ultimate moves like they're just basic attacks. Having a girl stare at you from that close and say she likes it, the damage is practically on par with a nuke. Luckily, smartphones aren't too hard to get the hang of. The startup tutorial was enough for Chushu to figure out the basics. I think I've got it." She looked at me, beaming. Her face practically screamed, "Praise me. Not bad, you're pretty smart." I didn't hold back on the compliments. And naturally, I patted her little round head. Chushu went completely quiet. It was like she was used to this kind of intimacy, but at the same time, slightly startled by how natural it felt. She just froze there in the exact same pose, until I awkwardly pulled my hand back. Only then did she finally speak. What makes me cute?" Even now, I'm still not used to her blunt honesty. And honestly, I have no idea How she manages to ask such lethal questions while wearing a face that is pure cuteness. My instinct to run away kicked in again, and I started babbling absolute nonsense. You're cute, because you somehow managed to blow up a rice cooker. Chu Shu froze for a second, then managed to comfort herself into a good mood again. Hee hee, you think I'm cute? Stop giggling. Come on, add my contact. Then go to sleep. I hurriedly pulled out my phone. Contact? Like, QQ? Or WeChat? Chu Shu was always so easily distracted. Wait, you actually know about those? I suddenly choked on my words. Wait, no, it would be weird if she didn't know. But in her situation, I know. The kids talk about it in computer class. She pulled out her clunky old phone and waved it around. I have QQ too, you know. I glanced at the interface on that antique screen, only to find it was a discontinued, empty app. Finally, my eyes landed on her username. Chu Shu cannot cook. I can cook now. Chu Shu's face instantly turned bright red. She quickly snatched the phone back, clutching it tightly to her chest. Yeah, sure, I held back a laugh. I just didn't know how to cook rice, that's all. I know how to scramble eggs. Chu Shu protested excitedly. She shifted on the floor, but lost her balance and tumbled right into my arms. See? That's what you get for getting cocky. Are you hurt? My voice came to a dead stop. My hands hovered in the air, not knowing where to land. I was completely stuck. It felt awkward to help her up, but just as awkward to do nothing. And the worst part? After she fell, she just lay there completely frozen, her face buried in my lap. We stayed in that dead silence until my legs literally went numb. Finally, I couldn't hold it in anymore. How long are you planning to just lay there? I want to go to sleep. If you want to sleep, go back to your room. My throat felt completely dry. Even my voice sounded weird. I don't have any strength left. Carry me back, please? Chu Shu whispered softly. Go back yourself, hurry up and get on your feet. I tried to sound strict. Maybe it was just my imagination, but it really felt like this girl was acting spoiled on purpose. Then I'll just sleep right here. Hey, don't play dirty. I honestly couldn't take it anymore, let alone whether she could even handle it. If I keep this up, my legs are going to be completely useless tomorrow. Fine, you win again. I gritted my teeth. Catching a glimpse of my defeat, Chu Shu sneakily stretched out both her arms. She was asking for a hug. I was so done. Fighting a headache, I carefully scooped her up, shifting her into a princess carry. This little piggy playing dead was way too light. Feeling her arms automatically wrap around my neck, I got so annoyed. You really use all your little tricks just on me, don't you? I don't care. Chu Shu instinctively shrank back, burying her face into my chest. You kissed me and hugged me, so you can't leave now. Or else I'll cry. My heart skipped a beat and I let out a long sigh. I already told you I'm not leaving. You really don't have to do this. I turned off the light and stepped out. A soft whisper came from inside the room. Good night, Shashan. Just hearing her voice, I could picture her silly little smile. I replied to the empty air and plopped down next to the wheelchair. In the end, we still didn't add each other as friends. August 23rd. I spent ages messing around before heading out. August 24th. I realized that the 10 yuan of phone credit I just bought left me with exactly 25 cents after paying off my debt. I didn't even have a decent data plan. I should just get Wi-Fi installed some other day. I stared at the ceiling, thinking it over. After rolling out my blanket and lying down, I tossed and turned, completely unable to sleep. Now that I was actually lying here, it really hit me just how incredibly tough this girl's life was. When I took a shower, I noticed she didn't even have a water heater. How is she supposed to survive when winter comes? And forget about AC. The entire place only had one clunky old fan, gathering dust in the corner. My mind was racing with all sorts of thoughts. I tossed and turned for ages, eventually going outside to smoke a few cigarettes before I could finally fall asleep. When morning came, I woke up feeling like a grim reaper was breathing down my neck. I shot out of bed in a panic, checking the time. It was only 6 in the morning. Glancing around the room, it dawned on me again that I was staying in this unfamiliar house. I quietly cooked some rice and made a few dishes, washed up, and got ready to head out. But just as I grabbed the door handle, an overwhelming emptiness hit me. I instinctively looked back at her bedroom door, and that hollow feeling faded a bit. I realized I had forgotten something. I quickly grabbed a sticky note and scribbled. I didn't run away, just went to work. There's rice in the pot, and I made enough food for 2 meals. I tiptoed over to her door and stuck it on, but after a second thought, it didn't feel like enough. So I wrote a few more notes and stuck them in the most obvious spots. Only then did I feel okay leaving. The first thing I did outside was call a Wi-Fi technician and set up an appointment for the afternoon. Then, I headed straight for that sketchy-looking shop. At exactly 8 o'clock sharp, I stood in front of the store, staring at the tightly pulled-down security gate, lost in thought. Did they go out of business? I waited for almost another hour. before I finally heard a familiar voice. Hey, old man, are you trying to achieve enlightenment out here at this ungodly hour? Linla was standing not too far away, holding his breakfast, and shouting at me with boundless energy. Boss, what time do you actually open? 10 o'clock. Getting here an hour early. Pretty hardworking of me, right? I felt a heavy sigh welling up in my chest, but I couldn't let it out. Right, have you eaten breakfast yet? Wanna grab a bite together? Linla waved the food in her hand. Then she noticed the ground covered in cigarette butts. Geez, old man, you smoked half a pack in an hour. Aren't you scared of lung cancer? Let's just go inside and eat. I quietly crushed the cigarette butt under my shoe. After we ate, this boss of mine actually dragged me straight into playing video games. It's been 2 days since I started this job, and I haven't done a single piece of actual work. Doing absolutely nothing like this was giving me major anxiety. Boss? Shouldn't we, do some real work? I'm feeling pretty guilty here. I finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Real work? What real work? What are you feeling guilty about? I honestly had no idea how to explain it. I just had to bite the bullet and say, I'm just worried that as an employee, if I don't create any value, I'll get fired. Is that it? She started counting on her fingers, explaining a whole bunch of stuff to me about the attention economy and emotional value. Then, she just scanned my QR code and transferred me $3,000 for my salary. Aren't you just worried about not getting paid? Here, take this month's salary in advance. Linla tossed her phone to the side. My brain completely short-circuited for a good minute. Why did it have to be me? Because you're cheap and easy to use, duh. Plus, you're kind of adorkable. Lin Lee's eyes were practically sparkling. Oh, and I just realized you're the perfect makeover project. This is gonna be so much fun. Over the next few days, Linla dragged me around to buy clothes and get my hair done. She somehow managed to transform me from a washed-up corporate drone into someone who actually looked half-decent. While we were out on the shopping street, I actually bumped into my ex-girlfriend, Su Yu. Seeing me standing there alone, her delusional ego made her assume I was stalking her. Right when things were getting super awkward, Linla swooped in out of nowhere holding ice cream. She immediately hit her with that fake sweet voice. Oh my, you're just the ex, so why are you acting like you're still his queen? She aggressively tore open an ice cream and shoved it straight into my mouth. She threw a provocative wink at her. This right here is my very own brooding little wolf dog. Su Yu was so stunned she couldn't even speak. She finally just stomped off in a furious huff. Thanks, I scratched my head awkwardly. Just basic bro code, man. Linla waved it off like a total boss. Your taste in women is absolute trash, though. I can't believe you fell for a gold digger. I buried my face in my hands. I was already reliving the cringe. Linla just shook her head. Alright, I won't poke the bear. It was already noon by the time we got back to the shop. Once that printer gets here, you better start working your butt off. You got it. The second I heard the word work, I was instantly fired up and ready to go. But then, my mind started to wander. I had no idea if that girl back at my place was actually eating properly or if she'd get bored and wander off by herself. If I go home late, is she gonna think I abandoned her again? As all these thoughts swirled in my head, I suddenly realized something. Whenever I was spending time with her, time actually flew by really fast. For some reason, that thought inexplicably made me want to run away. After work, I didn't head straight home. Instead, I rushed over to my old apartment and packed up my clothes, toiletries, and my clunky old laptop. Dragging my suitcase back into the neighborhood, I spotted Granny Jo waving at me from a distance. Hey there, young man, you're back. Out for a stroll, I see? I replied, bracing myself. Just seeing this old lady gave me the absolute creeps. Walking up to the building, I stopped dead in my tracks. A familiar little head peeked out sneakily from the stairway entrance. Seeing me, she ducked back into hiding like a kid playing hide and seek. I pretended not to notice, casually strolling toward the elevator. As I passed the corner, a tiny hand stealthily reached out and grabbed my hand. Huh? What are you doing down here? I feigned surprise. Grandma Jo said. Choshu stammered, her face turning red all the way to the tips of her ears. When a guy gets off work and sees his wife waiting for him, he'll be really happy. I'm just practicing in advance. My vision went dark. Oh great, the mastermind of bad ideas strikes again. Are you not happy? Seeing me stay silent, Choshu carefully peeked at me. Yeah, I'm happy. I realized I couldn't tear my eyes away from her. So, does that mean I'm your wife now? I slapped my forehead. Yep, this silly girl just equated me being happy with her being my wife. Who taught you that kind of logic? And who said you could come down here all by yourself? What if you took a fall? I squished her cheeks vigorously, but with just one sentence. Choshu completely shut me down. Are you worried about me? Yes, worried. Of course I am, I replied, showing a rare moment of honesty. Those stairs don't have any safety rails. If anything happened to you, I'd be really heartbroken. I'm sorry. Choshu lowered her head. You don't need to apologize. I'll figure out a way to install a stairlift as soon as possible. Just be a little patient until then, okay? Choshu nodded firmly. I just really missed you. I instinctively covered my eyes. This girl really plays dirty sometimes. On one hand, she claims she doesn't understand what love is. But on the other hand, she drops these dangerously direct lines straight at my weak spots. I missed you too. I tried to say it as casually as I could, but even I felt a bit dizzy. Really? Chosu's eyes sparkled. Let's go home. Did you make sure to eat properly? My courage was completely drained, so I dodged the topic again. Yeah, I ate. Choshu patted her slightly round little tummy. I'm so full. I gently pushed her into the elevator. My mind was clearly wandering somewhere else. I'll call the internet guy later. But before I could even finish, Chosu's voice echoed in the tiny elevator. Are we considered a couple now? My temples throbbed. The impulsive yes rolled around my throat 3 times, but eventually came out as, I don't really know. Then what are couples supposed to be like? Well, they usually eat together, act all clingy and sweet with each other. And, you know, kissing, hugging, picking each other up, things like that. I almost slapped myself as soon as the words left my mouth. Because we were practically doing all of those things already. Seeing the gears turning in Chosu's head, I quickly jumped in to save myself. But the most important thing is that they actually like each other. And Choshu immediately fired right back, then when are you going to like me? Can you ask something a normal human being can actually answer? Besides, you haven't even figured your own feelings out yet, so how can you ask me that? As we stepped out of the elevator, Choshu shrank back a little. With a firm tone, I can borrow some. You think this is a free credit card? Go ahead and try borrowing some then. Just get inside and stay there. I'm going to buy some groceries. I tossed out that line and shut the door behind me. I lit a cigarette, my hands shaking. Where exactly did things go wrong? But asking myself honestly, it seems I've fallen for her too. But am I even good enough for her? As this question surfaced in my mind once again, for some reason, that fresh paycheck of $3,000 actually gave me an indescribable sense of confidence. Just $3,000 is enough to make a guy cocky. But on second thought, back when I only made a few thousand a month, didn't I still date just like anyone else? Screw it. The more I thought about it, the more frustrated I got. I just completely snapped and went the other way. What the hell am I afraid of? We've already kissed. We've hugged. We've sealed the deal. Like I'd ever let her run away now. Even if I crash and burn, I'm all in. Instead of stressing over all this nonsense, I should be figuring out how to build a good life for us. Since things have already spiraled this far out of control, it's not like I can just walk away even if I wanted to. Besides, if a girl like her could muster up the courage to do all that, wouldn't I be a total coward if I kept chickening out? On my way to the grocery store, I had already called the internet guy in advance. By the time the Wi-Fi was all set up, Chosu's social anxiety had her hiding in the bedroom, too scared to come out. She only peeked the door open after the tech guy had left. When you snatched me off the streets back then, how come you weren't this timid? That's different. How is it different? You're pretty, the exact kind of pretty I like. And you look even prettier today. So you were just after my looks, huh? Choshu anxiously blurted out nonsense, I don't care. Anyway, I caught you. Oh, so now you're learning how to play dirty, huh? I teased her with a laugh, and connected her phone to the Wi-Fi. Then I helped her download a chat app. All the notifications were from that one friend of hers. The earliest messages went back several years. The very last one was from 2 weeks ago. She swiped up and down the screen, reading them all. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. A close friend? I asked softly. Yeah, she nodded, still shaking. My best friend, we were classmates. I didn't even get to say goodbye to her when I left. I see. I fell into deep thought. Seeing me stay quiet, Choshu instantly panicked. She's a girl. Please don't abandon me. Why are you so nervous? Anyone can tell she's a girl. I glanced at the other person's cursed meme profile picture. Choshu hesitated, awkwardly typing for ages, only to send out a single word, me. The other side immediately blew up, holy shit. It's been 6 years, you finally rise from the grave, and you just reply to me with one single word? Choshu typed another letter, ah. The other side went dead silent. Then, Choshu thought very carefully for a moment, poking the screen word by word. I picked up a guy, and he bought me a phone. I silently lowered my hand. You know what? Screw it. Let the world burn. These two combined couldn't even make half a normal human being. In the days that followed, Choshu and I are getting closer and closer. She'll ramble on right before bed, saying the sweetest, most sugary things, and then fall asleep before I even have a chance to reply. She'll secretly draw while curled up in my arms, sketching us as a devoted cat dad and his little white kitty. Whenever I get mad, she shrinks into a tiny, scared ball, but she's still too stubborn to actually back down. We've had a few fights, too. The worst one was when she said it again, you can just leave. Don't let me hold you back. My anger just flared up right then and there. I gave her a really harsh scolding. But later on, I realized I wasn't much better myself. I was just as obsessed with the whole "am I good enough for you" question. After that fight, we actually grew a lot closer. It's just like what Grandma Jo said later on, a couple can never truly connect if they never fight. I took her to the hospital to get her legs checked. The doctor said it was the after effects of polio. If she had gotten treated in time back then, she'd be walking just like anyone else right now. And a full course of stem cell therapy would cost around 100,000 to 200,000 yuan. Choshu immediately said she didn't want the treatment. She said just having me was enough. I didn't agree, but I didn't say no, either. I just told her we'd slowly save up for it, and when it came to making money, I bought Choshu a drawing tablet and a smartphone, and helped her set up an art commission account. It wasn't long before someone actually reached out for a commission. It was from a struggling web novel author, who wanted character avatars drawn. 50 yuan for a single piece. It wasn't a lot of money, but for Choshu, it was the first time in her life that she earned her own money. When she got paid, she was beaming with absolute joy. Sha Tian, I actually made money. She shoved the phone right in my face, and there it was, 40 yuan in commission fees proudly displayed on the screen. I reached out and ruffled her hair. Choshu just giggled happily. So, can you use a different name to praise me then? What name? I played dumb. You have to call me wifey. Not little wifey. I want to hear my hubby praise me. We made a promise, remember? I was laughing so hard at her cuteness, but my ears still turned red as I said it out loud. You're amazing, wifey. Choshu's eyes grew wide, and then she threw herself right into my arms. She let out the sweetest little hum. Hubby, you're the amazing one. You helped me find the perfect way to do this. Thank you, hubby. On my end, I wasn't slacking off either. Linla gave me a blank action figure base, which gave me an idea. I could take official, soft vinyl figures and modify them into articulated models to make content for my channel. I went to see my old college roommate, Chen Liang. At his hardware store, I bought all the putty, spray paint, and colors I needed, and lugged an old computer back home. Turns out, Choshu had an incredible talent for model making. In less than half an hour, she helped me solve several tricky technical problems and even used watercolor markers to paint the model. Is this okay? She asked, looking up at me nervously. It completely blew away my expectations. I pulled her close into my arms. Choshu snuggled against my chest, drawing away. She was sketching out our daily life together. A little round-headed white kitty clinging to her devoted cat dad while he pretended to be annoyed, but was secretly smiling the whole time. She even came up with a special name for her account. Summer and Autumn in the attic. I am Summer and she is Autumn. She wrote both of our last names right there, on the chipped starry sky wall in her room. It had a drawing of a fish swimming freely through the galaxy, and a crab trapped on the ground, desperately trying to leap into the stars. She drew herself as that crab, longing for freedom, yet trapped right where she was. The moment I finally understood that painting, my throat went so dry it physically hurt. Did you notice anything? She asked, her voice unusually flat. Well, I saw a fish, a crab, the galaxy, and a few really bright stars. She smiled. It was like dead wood coming back to life in spring, or a frozen river finally melting. I think I'm really falling for you. Me too, I replied in a daze. And then, she just drifted off to sleep in my arms. After a moment of hesitation, I couldn't help but gently brush her hair aside. I pressed a soft kiss to her forehead before carefully pulling my arm away. I closed the door and left. And just like that, the days went by. Choshu was getting more and more art commissions. She even started learning how to make animated emojis, turning our story into a little comic series, the daily life of a cat servant and his little white kitty. I was also trying to figure out social media, filming the process of my model customizations, and editing them into short videos. Even though my views were pretty dismal, at least I had taken the first step. Then, one day, Linla suddenly called me in the middle of a workday, saying it was an emergency. When I was saying goodbye to Choshu, she clung to the doorframe just like always, asking softly, Are you coming back? Hey, if you're really that worried I'll run away, I'll just stay home. I laughed, waving my phone. No, you go ahead, she replied. Just come back early. Once I got to the shop, Linla looked at me mysteriously and announced she was going to train me into a real pro. Not just making models and filming videos, but helping me build a complete, money-making mindset. What's your ultimate goal? The kind where I can just chill, slack off, and live comfortably. With a goal like that, you're never going to see a comfortable day in your life. Linla started giving me a full lecture. From prepaid card theories to making my first pot of gold. From the attention economy to carving out my own niche. Don't you have things you love, too? Why did you major in this at college? I hesitated for a moment, then told her about my childhood obsession with tokusatsu models. So after all that, you're just a huge nerd too. You're the last person who gets to make fun of me for that. I shot back, glaring at her. Linla froze for a second, giving me a long look. She tossed the base figure she was holding at me. Figure it out yourself. Do I really have to spell everything out for you? On my way home, I kept playing with the figure, wondering, did my boss plan this all along? Meanwhile, Choshu and Linla, who turned out to be that friend of hers, were chatting away passionately on their phones. Choshu was telling her our entire story from beginning to end, including how she secretly watched me near the funeral home, how she bought an umbrella and gathered the courage to hold it over my head, and how she made up all sorts of excuses to trick me into going home with her. Hearing all this, Linla nearly jumped straight off her couch. And what I had absolutely no idea about was that Chosu's absolute best friend and my totally flaky boss were actually the exact same person. One day, Grandma Jo took a bad fall and ended up in the hospital. I rushed to the hospital with Chushu, only to find Grandma Jo lying in bed with a cast. Chushu's tears immediately burst like a dam. Grandma Jo, I'm here. She struggled to push her wheels closer. Grandma Jo shoved a bankbook right into my hands. It was only later that I found out that it held all the money Chushu's grandma had saved up over the years, plus what Grandma Jo had added in. It was nearly 30,000 yuan in total. When Chushu saw the bankbook, she cried her absolute heart out. They kept saying there was no money for her treatment, but the money was right here all along. For a moment, I couldn't find the right words to comfort her. Later on, Chushu made a decision that totally caught me off guard. She held the bankbook out to me. You decide how we use this. Why are you giving this to me? This is your money. I'm terrible with money. Besides, you're the one taking care of me, so you should be the one holding onto it. I'm putting all my trust in you, and my absolute faith, even if, I don't know if that means much to you. I stayed silent for a long time, before finally taking it from her. I smiled and gently flicked her forehead. You'd better not take it back, then. Chushu hurriedly backed her wheelchair up, as if she was trying to dodge the bankbook. Chushu hurriedly backed her wheelchair up, as if she was trying to dodge the bankbook. You're the one who can't back out now, or else I'll get really mad. She turned her head away with cute little attitude, letting out a huff to look tough. But it just came off as super adorable. Alright, I won't back out either. The moment I tucked that bankbook away, it hit me. Maybe the luckiest thing that will ever happen to me in this entire life was that rainy night when a silly girl in a wheelchair shakily held up an umbrella just to try and shield me from the rain. Chushu snuggled into my arms and softly mumbled, Sha Tian, yeah? What about our story? I'm going to keep drawing it forever. Everything happening now, and everything in our future. No matter what happens to us, I'll just keep drawing. Okay. I gently rubbed her head. Outside the window, the autumn wind was growing chilly, but the warmth right here in my arms was absolutely perfect. That night, I lay in bed, tossing and turning, while Chushu stayed curled up against my chest like a little kitten, breathing softly and evenly. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Linla. Yo, you got any plans today? If not, get over here quick. Finish this gig and I'll make you a full-time employee. I looked down at the silly girl fast asleep in my arms, then back at my phone. Early the next morning, I whipped up some breakfast, left a sticky note, and headed out. Chushu clung to the doorframe and sweetly called out, come home early, hubby. I know. I didn't even look back, but I was already grinning from ear to ear. While pedaling a shared bike all the way to the shop, the cold wind kept blowing down my collar. But my heart was totally warm. When I got to the front of the shop, there was a piece of paper stuck on the rolling shutter. Don't rush, the boss is on his way. There was a little arrow drawn next to it, pointing straight at a tiny stool and a dog bowl. And right above it sat a tiny sign reading, reserved exclusively for Sha Tian. Next to it was a lumpy sack of peanuts. I just sat there in silence, staring at the dog bowl with dead, empty eyes. The longer I looked, the more I felt like a stray beggar. It was past 10 o'clock when Linla finally dragged herself in. She was carrying an extra-large breakfast, completely drained of her usual fiery energy. You're here pretty early, old man. So, what's eating you this time? I just took a massive critical hit. Linla exploded. She ranted about how her best friend's new relationship triggered her so bad she couldn't sleep a wink all night. I slapped my forehead, finally putting the pieces together. She was losing her mind from being single, and the jealousy just pushed her over the edge. After breakfast, she dragged me to an internet cafe for another massive venting session. During the day, I went to work, though my shift felt a lot more like I was just hanging out, playing games and chatting with the boss. After clocking out, I'd go home, build models, shoot videos, and take care of Chushu. Chushu wasn't slacking off, either. Her drawing skills were improving at lightning speed. She was getting more and more commissions, and even started figuring out how to make animated stickers. We relied on each other, and we drove each other absolutely crazy. Sometimes we were sickeningly sweet, and other times we'd argue until the roof blew off. But every fight just brought us closer together. Whenever I got mad, she'd curl up into a scared little ball. And whenever I felt down, she'd try to comfort me in the most clumsy, adorable ways. I'd patiently talk her through her moments of self-doubt, but whenever she secretly tried to pull a stupid stunt, I'd get so mad I'd want to toss her right out the window. But I could never actually bring myself to do it. Then, one night, Choo Shu was leaning over her tablet, rushing to finish a drawing, while I sat next to her, sanding a model. She suddenly turned her head, staring at me with those big, round, puppy dog eyes. Sha Tian, I feel like throwing a little tantrum. I glanced over at her screen. She had drawn a cat owner lying completely flat on the ground. And way off in the distance was a lonely little kitten huddled by a drawing board, surrounded by dark, gloomy scribble lines. I chuckled, picked her up, and set her down right beside me so she could lean against me while she kept drawing. Choo Shu instantly quieted down, and even secretly drew a little happy star right on top of the kitten's head. Are you having a hard time holding back? I lost that battle a long time ago. I gently turned her around and pulled her completely into my arms. Choo Shu looked like a startled little kitten, tightly gripping her stylus in the air. Her big round eyes stared at me without blinking. But, we can't. Not until you can stand up. Not until you can fight back, or run away. Not until you can truly support yourself. Not until you completely let go of all this emotional baggage and stop feeling so insecure. Only then will your consent be truly free, without feeling like you owe me anything. It's not that I don't want you. It's just that, I'm not going to let myself touch you until you are at your absolute most confident. That is my responsibility to you, and my respect. Choo Shu's lips parted slightly, and her eyes shimmered with a kind of overwhelming emotion I had never seen before. She just stared at me, completely in a daze for a long time, before giving me a firm, heavy nod. Sha Tian, thank you for treating me this way. What is there to thank me for? I gently flicked her forehead. I just have to. I can feel how much you cherish me, even more than I cherish myself. Just like my grandma did. If she knew that I found someone like you, she would be so happy. Yeah, she definitely would be. The wind outside the window grew a little colder, but the warmth in my arms felt just as comforting as ever. Our story is still going on, and Choo Shu told me, she's going to draw every single moment of it. Whether it is right now or in the future, no matter what happens. I am just trying to figure out how to make our lives a little better every single day, for her, and for myself too. As for what the future holds, who knows, but at least for now, I am not letting go. My phone suddenly buzzed. It was a text from Linla. 123, hey, we have got a massive job tomorrow, get here fast, or I will dock your pay. 123, B23. I looked down at Choo Shu, who had already fallen asleep in my arms, and gently tucked her hair behind her ear. Then I texted back, got it, I am coming. All the way there, the closer I got, the more guilty I felt. I had literally promised Choo Shu yesterday that I would take her to the hospital today to visit Grandma Jo. Right before bed last night, we were all snuggled up in the blankets, spending ages figuring out our budget, and we even agreed to stop by the bookstore on the way to buy her some study guides. After a whole lot of coaxing and sweet talking, no, wait, I mean gentle persuasion, I finally got that girl to bite the bullet and spend all the money she has made so far on improving herself. But because of that, the entire burden of paying the bills falls right back on my shoulders. Sure, Choo Shu still gets her monthly allowance of over 1,000. Plus that burning hot bank book as a backup, but I know better than to just touch that money. Her allowance has to be saved for emergencies, and as for the nearly 30,000 on that bank book, I absolutely cannot touch that. Putting aside the share meant for Choo Shu's grandma, even though I am holding onto it, Choo Shu is the only one who has the right to spend it. The craziest part is, there is also over 10,000 in there that Grandma Jo secretly slipped in. I have to at least figure out the reason and talk to Grandma Jo face to face before deciding whether to keep that money or give it back. But the problem is, I totally stood them up. If everything had gone smoothly, we could have actually gotten all of this sorted out today. But just for the sake of my so-called future, even though this job has seemed super sketchy from the start, part of me still leaned towards taking it. Because I know exactly what I need right now. With this financial mess I am in, I am afraid only that rich kid boss can give me a way out. But even though I had already made my choice, every single step I took towards work, my mind kept flashing back to the first time I met Grandma Jo. The frantic look on her face when she was searching for Choo Shu, that warm smile when she brought us food. How she was still worrying about whether we had eaten while lying in her hospital bed, and that final gesture of turning her head away to shoo us out. Did I make the wrong call? I shook my head with a bitter smile. I just hope I can get off work early and take her to the hospital. Before I even realized it, I was already standing at the front of the shop. It was not until I kicked that dog bowl full of cigarette butts that I finally snapped out of it. I looked up, only to see someone sprawled out on the couch looking like a completely lifeless slug. It was Linla. Her hair was an absolute bird's nest, and she had massive dark circles under her eyes. She was staring daggers at me with a look of pure resentment. I pushed the door open and walked in. We just stared blankly at each other, not saying a single word. I bit the bullet and broke the silence. Boss? Why did you call me over in such a rush? Did something happen? Linla twitched around for a good minute like some mutated zombie, and barely managed to prop herself up. Then she just flopped right back down, burying her face into a throw pillow. She groaned, "Just let me rest for a sec. Where is the food? Where is it?" I glanced over at the totally empty table. That thought must have flipped a switch in her brain, because Linla instantly lost it. That is exactly what I am so mad about. She let out a long, frustrated wail. I buried my face back into the pillow. The grandma selling breakfast didn't set up her stall today. I'm waiting for my takeout right now. There are plenty of breakfast stalls around here, right? Why are you so obsessed with that one? Mind your own business. Fine, I'm just a little worried. That old lady has heart problems. It's been like this for years. Every time she doesn't show up, it means she's in the hospital. Who knows what happened this time? I couldn't help but let out a heavy sigh. Having just gone through that situation with Grandma Jo. If only it was just about Grandma Jo. If only my mind hadn't immediately jumped to my own parents. It makes me so incredibly sensitive to these kinds of topics. If only there were no illnesses in this world. Linla shifted her gaze over to me, staring without even blinking. What is it? Her intense stare was starting to freak me out. Nothing, but hearing such a naive fantasy coming from you. Uncle, are you aging backwards or something? After the takeout arrived, we both buried our heads in our food. Only after scarfing down the very last bite did I finally cut to the chase. So, calling me over here out of the blue today. What's this all about? Lin Li's expression suddenly froze. The words got stuck right on the tip of her tongue. Seeing my increasingly suspicious look, she suddenly shot up from her seat and yanked me to my feet. Cut the crap and just come with me. We crossed the street, and turned into an old alleyway. The alley was packed tightly with small shops displaying faded signs. Steam was billowing from the street food stalls. Workers in their uniforms were sitting in small groups on low stools, eating their breakfast. As soon as Linla walked into the alley, people greeted her warmly. She smiled and waved them off. I've already eaten. I already ate. Without breaking her stride, she pointed to an empty corner deep inside the alley. That's where the old lady usually sets up her stall. Following her gaze, I saw a few folding tables and chairs, tightly bundled up with thick rope and wedged securely into a gap in the wall. There wasn't even a sign. I didn't expect you to be so popular around here. Of course I am. I used to eat here all the time back in middle school. I got to know everyone over time. That stall owner who packed up is also someone I've known for a while. Grandma Jo, she used to live right here. Hearing the surname Jo, and then thinking of that familiar taste. That weird feeling in my chest only grew stronger. Linla just kept right on talking. I used to have a friend. After school, she would always wait here for her family to get off work. I tagged along a few times and just got completely hooked on the food here. Later, after I graduated college, I opened a shop on the next street over. I found out the old lady had moved away a long time ago. Luckily, her stall was still around. The taste hasn't changed, and her prices haven't gone up after all these years, either. Until one time, she didn't set up her stall for a few days straight. When she finally came back, I found out her health was getting worse and worse. Do you know where that old lady moved to now? Sunshine Neighborhood. That's exactly where Chu Shu is living right now. Suddenly, everything seemed to click into place. If Grandma Jo's health was already failing, then her using those wild schemes to set me and Chu Shu up. Perhaps in the old lady's eyes, she was genuinely just trying to get her affairs in order before she passed. The more I thought about it, the more panic set in. Seeing how incredibly weak and fragile the old lady looked yesterday, it most likely wasn't caused by the fall at all. The fall was probably just a result, and the old lady might have moved to that place, purely for Chu Shu's sake. But there was absolutely no need for her to set up her stall so far away from home. My eyes swept over the workers lining up in the alley, and suddenly, it hit me. At the very front of the line were a few labor agencies. They stood there anxiously, waiting to get assigned some work. My dad used to be one of them. The reason the old lady still insisted on running her stall all the way out here was probably because she just couldn't stop worrying about these people. We kept heading forward, taking a few more turns. Linla stopped in front of an oil press shop. An old man was hunched over, pulling the grinding stone. Beads of sweat were dripping down the towel draped around his neck. Linla greeted the old man like an old friend. She asked for a sack of peanuts and a bag of peanut butter. But when it came time to settle the bill, the old man quoted a price that was obviously way too low, and surprisingly, Linla wasn't having it. She spouted nonsense with a straight face. 150 plus 15 is obviously 315. After saying that, she quickly slapped down over $300 and bolted. I was dumbfounded as I hauled that dead heavy sack and followed her out. This thing had to be at least 70 or 80 pounds. Carrying it was even heavier than carrying that silly girl, Choo. On the way back to town, Linla ran into a convenience store for another shopping spree. When she came out, she muttered under her breath, "Damn it. Auntie actually bought a calculator." I almost choked on my smoke. Why this boss picked me up in the first place? I think I'm really starting to understand. She probably does the exact same thing for anyone who appears in front of her looking like they're struggling. Boss, this little whim of yours, just how many times have you acted on it? It was just a whim. No different from feeding a stray cat on the street. You dare to do it but won't admit it, huh? Hurry up and haul that stuff back to the shop for me. And then make yourself scarce. I don't want to see your face anymore today. Once we got to the shop, Linla slapped the sofa. "I'm making you a full-time employee right now." I instantly felt that playing the coolie was totally worth it. After grinding away for over 2 hours, I finally finished the basic dummy model she wanted. Linla held the fresh out of the oven model with pure satisfaction, her face blooming with joy. "How much do you want for your full-time salary? 6,000? 7,000? 8,000? Her eyes were sparkling as she stared at me. I ultimately asked for 4,000. Even though I felt I didn't deserve that much, an extra $1,000 meant Choo and I could upgrade from penny pinching to actually eating full meals every day. Although Linla looked at me like I was an idiot, she agreed incredibly fast. She casually printed out a few more models for me as a bonus, and I walked out of the shop over the moon. I hadn't walked far when my phone buzzed. A transfer of $1,000 popped up on the screen. I stared at that number, stunned for a long time. Then I looked down at the 2 models in my hands, and finally shoved those messy thoughts down. But an inexplicable flutter in my chest quietly crept up on me. Lin Lee's casually intimate behavior. The sensation of her basically pressing right up against my back today. Even though she probably just sees me as a bro, I still couldn't help but let my imagination run wild. I suddenly raised my hand and slapped myself hard across the face. What the hell are you thinking about? Do you even deserve her? Even putting aside whether you're worthy or not, how can you face that silly girl waiting for you at home? When it comes to that fool, Choo, I'd rather be crushed to dust than ever allow myself to hurt her in the slightest. By the time I got downstairs, it was already past 2 in the afternoon. I stood Choo up and caught feelings for Linla. These thoughts weighed heavy on my chest like stones, but the moment I thought of the one at home, my silly Ping, the sweet little fool waiting for me to come back, a sudden wave of panic washed over me. I started mashing the elevator button like crazy. The second I reached the door, I banged on it, but it was dead silent inside. I searched the whole neighborhood for her. Finally, the security guard told me Choshu had taken a cab about an hour or 2 ago. He said an older man got in with her. She must have gone to the hospital with Grandpa Lee, but she didn't leave a single message. It was way too out of character. Wait, her phone's out of credit. Why didn't I just top up her phone? Oh my god, I could cry from my own stupidity. I quickly put 30 yuan on her account and hit dial. Her voice came through the line, weak and trembling. Sha Tian, my phone ran out of credit. I wanted to text you after I left, but it wouldn't send. I'm so sorry. It's okay, as long as you're safe. I let out a massive sigh of relief. Where are you right now? The hospital? Yeah, Grandma Joe, she's gone. Those words hit me like an ice pick, freezing me right where I stood. Choshu wasn't crying. She wasn't breaking down. There was only this chilling, absolute calmness to her voice. Grandpa Lee told me. He told me to come see her one last time. They're doing the paperwork right now, getting ready for the cremation. Are you coming? The moment I rushed into the hospital, I saw Choshu sitting by the bed. Both her hands were tightly rubbing Grandma Joe's already ice-cold hands. She turned her head. Her red, swollen, numb eyes flickered slightly the second she saw me. You're here. Yeah, you don't have to hold it in anymore. She finally collapsed into my arms, sobbing without a sound. It wasn't until dark, after we saw Grandpa Lee off and carried the urn out of the crematorium, that Choshu finally started to calm down a little. But the question she asked next was completely suffocating. Everyone who treats me well, everyone who cares about me, they all end up leaving me. Are you going to leave me one day too? I wanted to answer her right away, but the words just got stuck in my throat. I tried to play it off with a joke. Well, everyone dies eventually, right? Besides, I'm way older than you. So mathematically speaking, I'll definitely go before you do. Alright, stop overthinking it. I quickly cut her off and grabbed the handles of her wheelchair. Come on, I'm taking you to the beach. We headed all the way north. The wind was howling. Choshu curled herself up in the wheelchair, her body shivering slightly. I took off my jacket and draped it right over her head. She didn't want to take it, trying to hand it back, but I shut that down immediately. I can't fix how broken you feel on the inside, but at least let me keep your body warm. When we reached the bridge near the lighthouse, I turned her wheelchair to face the ocean. Choshu opened the urn, and tossed the ashes into the sea, handful after handful. Her hands moved faster and faster, like she was scattering seeds in a field. Aren't you going to save some? I just don't want Grandma to have to worry about me anymore. In the end, she still kept a tiny bit. Later on, I took her down to the sandy beach. I held her up, letting her bare feet touch the ocean water. I'm standing. Chosu's eyes went wide with wonder. So this is what it feels like, to stand up. So I only reach right below your neck. In that very moment, I clearly realized how absolutely captivating she was, without a single trace of insecurity. Perhaps we just have to wait until the day she can truly stand on her own 2 feet, and most of her struggles will fade away. Don't you laugh. Okay. Under the moonlight, we stood there in silence for a long time, leaning against each other like statues. I want to go into the ocean. Can you walk me over there, step by step? I shifted to support her, half carrying her, following her fragile movements. Taking it one step at a time. In that short distance of just a dozen steps, the invisible wall between us just completely vanished. Reaching the water's edge, Chushu struggled to dip her toes in. The freezing water made her shiver, but she was just so incredibly happy. It's summer. I want to go in a little deeper. Now you're suddenly not cold? I teased, exasperated as I rolled up her pants for her. Step by step, we walked until the water reached halfway up her calves. Would you ever leave me? What if you met someone better? What if she's really pretty and could actually help you out a lot? Someone tall, and who treats you incredibly well, and really rich, too? Even if someone like that actually existed, why would they ever go for a guy like me? Chushu's eyes instantly lost their light. The smile on my face completely froze. It suddenly dawned on me that there actually was someone exactly like that. I would absolutely never leave you. Chushu stayed silent for a moment, then suddenly pressed her hands against my chest and pushed. Caught completely off guard, I fell backward, my arms instinctively pulling her tight against me. We crashed into the ocean together just as a freezing wave smashed over us without any warning, dragging us both underwater. But in that brief second I closed my eyes. Her clumsy, desperate kiss pulled me entirely into the depths with her. We held on until our lungs were completely burning for air, and the tide finally pulled back. I hunched over, coughing violently, frantically scrambling to pull Chushu up out of the water. I think I'm addicted, she whispered. Can we do that again? You're crazy. Come on, let's go home. Once we got home and took our turns showering, Chushu snuggled right into my shirt, clinging to me. With the silliest smile on her face. We talked for such a long time that night. We talked about the future, about getting married, about how she wanted to learn to cook, how she wanted to wait downstairs for me after work. All those sweet fantasies of dragging me all over the place. When I can finally walk. Will you love me even more? I'll love you no matter what. I'll always love you. I want to get my legs treated. Is that okay? And just like that, the days quietly slipped by. Chushu started getting more and more art commissions, and I was figuring out my way through social media. Then one day, Linla dragged me to an anime convention. She took me from an exhausted corporate slave, and completely transformed me into that viral anime priest look. At the convention, Linla went as Android 18, and everyone instantly recognized me as Kotomine Kirei. Believe it or not, people actually came up to me for photos, demanding I give them that signature rejoice expression. Halfway through, some guy tried to hit on Linla, and I instinctively stepped in front of her. Later, while we were eating lunch, a pink-haired girl walked over, handing me an orange. Want an orange? I couldn't help but feel like she looked familiar, but I just couldn't remember where I'd seen her, until she spoke. So, you've joined this industry too, huh? Wait, you're Shen Mian? Did you forget about me? My memories were instantly dragged back to the distant past. Shen Mian, my one-week first love from middle school. It all started with a truth or dare kiss, which threw the totally broke and clueless me into a spiral of panic and self-doubt. Eventually, we just drifted apart. She looks like she's doing pretty well for herself now, bought her own place, and even dropped hints about wanting to be my sugar mommy. But I just gave her one simple response. That's all in the past. Linla was watching the drama unfold with pure delight, and went totally crazy with the gossip afterward. I spilled the beans about our past. After hearing it, she sighed. The reason you're not making any money is because you're just not ruthless enough. Meanwhile, the survival space for real creators is just constantly getting squeezed. So when you say ruthless, you mean my personality? You're never gonna strike it rich in this lifetime. Look, if you want to get something done, it's really just about making it happen. Figure out what you want to do and just do it. Then get it done. What the hell kind of obstacles do you even have? Are you complaining that you aren't exhausted enough? Why do you always go looking for extra stress? On the way back, my mind was swirling with all sorts of thoughts. When I got home, Chu Shu was resting against the doorframe, waiting for me like a little kitten. In the days that followed, Chu Shu's drawing skills improved at lightning speed, while I was busy tinkering with my models and social media channels. But the good times didn't last. One morning, I was woken up by my own coughing. My whole body was burning up with a fever. Chu Shu stayed up the entire night, constantly wiping my forehead with a damp cloth. What surprised me even more was that she secretly took my phone and texted Linla to call in sick for me. "I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have made that decision for you. Let's just call it an even trade, then. You gave up your whole night for me, in exchange for the right to make decisions for me. How does that sound? You stayed up all night taking care of me, isn't this the least you deserve?" She smiled, and then brought over a plate of scrambled eggs, the very first dish she had ever made all by herself. The color was a bit dark, sure, but she had added a splash of soy sauce. And it actually tasted pretty damn good. Is it really good? Why don't you try it and find out? Chu Shu took a careful little bite. Her expression instantly softened and her whole tense body finally relaxed. Once I recovered, I started taking Chu Shu for her physical rehab sessions. She was scared to death, but she gritted her teeth and pushed right through it. One day, it snowed. I carried her on my back so we could go out and play in the snow. She excitedly poked little holes in the snow, and we built 2 little snowmen. She even asked to take a picture together. I was a bit hesitant, but this time, my feelings for her won out. It was the very first time she willingly looked into the camera. Even though her hands were trembling, she still pressed the shutter. In the photo, she was tilting her sweet little face up at me, while I was standing there with a stiff expression, like I was taking a graduation picture. I looked so silly. Our days just flew by, filled with busy work and sweet little moments. Chu Shu's short videos were getting better and better, and her commissions were steadily going up. One day, she came across some silly viral video, and went crazy recording one just like it. The views actually broke 8,000. Am I famous now? You're definitely blowing up. You stumbled right into the viral algorithm by pure luck. Meanwhile, my own social media channel got its very first custom order. A fan wanted a complete set of Heisei Kamen Rider figures. $300 a pop. This was the first time I made big money using my own 2 hands. But just when everything seemed to be looking up, some secrets started bubbling to the surface. Linla took me to a secret spot for hardcore fishermen, right near the urban village. I met her uncle, who was just as flaky as she is. The 2 of them were going at it, bickering back and forth. It really showed me their chaotic family dynamic. But after dinner, Linla suddenly got serious. She brought up Grandma Joe's passing, saying how she was always one day too late. From losing a friend when she was little, to not making it in time to get the old lady medical help. The guilt in my heart felt even heavier. If I had just told her about the old lady going to the hospital that day, maybe everything would have been different. You knew about this before I did, didn't you? Look at that miserable face of yours. You're making it impossible for me to stay depressed. Are you scared of your wife? No, it's more that I'm terrified of losing her. You know, you were right. We really are different. I was born never having to worry about putting food on the table, so I had the luxury of figuring out what I actually wanted to do in life. You're not like that. You actually have to worry about making a living. But I don't care about any of that. We're friends. Stop bottling it all up inside. What, do you think I'm not good enough to be your friend? Even if I threw you to the curb one day, I'd still make sure you were in good hands first. As we were walking out of the shop, she shoved a bag into my hands. Inside were 2 cartons of imported cigarettes and the newest smartphone. If you don't want it, just toss it. When I got home, I hesitated for a long time, but ultimately, I decided to come clean. My boss gave this to me. I placed the bag right in front of Chu Shu. She tightened her grip on her phone, and gave a stiff reply. But the very next second, she pounced on me and pinned me to the floor. I'm upset, but only a little bit. At least you came to me and told the truth. So, now I'm happy again. That night, we talked about a lot of things. Chu Shu suddenly asked me a really strange question. I have this friend, who's in a long-distance relationship with someone she likes. And she has another friend who lives in the exact same city as the guy she likes, but this friend doesn't know about their relationship. Well, the guy she likes got into an accident, and she couldn't make it there. So she asked her friend to go take care of him. She even told her friend to find a way to get closer to him. Does that count as using her friend? Wait, is this the same friend you mentioned before? Since when did this friend of yours even have a boyfriend? And why are you suddenly asking about her? She has someone she likes now. I was completely stunned, but was all of this really just a coincidence? In the end, I chose not to press the issue. Because no matter what the actual truth was, the result would be exactly the same. I was never going to leave Chu Shu, and I had to sort out my relationship with Linla. Besides, digging into it might completely destroy the fragile trust we still had. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Chu Shu's voice drifted out from the bathroom, broken and sobbing. I lied. I never should have looked at her phone. Otherwise, I never would have known. I crouched outside the door, lit my last cigarette and then took the remaining half-pack and hurled it down from upstairs. After recovering a bit, I told Linla I wanted to quit my job. Part of the reason was Chu Shu, but the bigger reason was just me. If I didn't quit, I was terrified I'd eventually turn into someone even I hated. Linla stayed silent for a while and then she took me to a fancy restaurant. While we were eating, she suddenly leaned in close. Her gaze turned incredibly direct. Mister, you know, you've got this whole fragile, broken vibe going on from head to toe. It honestly makes me want to bully you a little bit. My heart suddenly started racing. And honestly, yours truly might just be ready to show you her progress bar. Huh? I completely failed to process that. HMPH, forget it. I'm just kidding. Hurry up and eat. She switched back to her usual slacker vibe at the speed of light. Back in the car, Linla stared intently at her phone screen. Her frown deepening the longer she looked. Wait, no, why does this behavior look exactly like it was cut from the exact same mold? Meanwhile, I was wrestling with my own thoughts, agonizing over those truths that were getting harder and harder to ignore. But in the end, I chose to put those questions on ice for a while. Because more than the truth itself, Chu Shu's mental state was far more important right now. That night, Chu Shu asked me, what do you think about when you can't fall asleep? I guess I just count all the things I've completely messed up in life. Yeah, me too. It always makes me so sad. Every time I think about them, I just never know what to do. I guess all you can do is let her off the hook and just forgive her. I mean, who doesn't make mistakes? Chu Shu felt completely silent for a long time, and then she whispered, I love you, hubby. The holidays flew by in an absolute flash with Chu Shu by my side. We both just went about our own business every day, occasionally looking up to share a quick smile before ducking our heads back into our work. The sunlight streaming through the window felt like a golden veil, casting an invisible curtain of shattered light right between us. Chu Shu's artwork was getting better and better, and her income was steadily growing, too. After that silly clucking and quacking video blew up out of nowhere, she started experimenting with a lot more styles. One day, she tried to teach me how to draw, and I ended up sketching a slime crab that looked like its IQ was completely bankrupt. Chu Shu laughed so hard she practically stopped breathing. But then she had a lightbulb moment and turned my cursed art style into a whole video series. 086. The view count broke 10,000 in a single night. Wait, did I go viral? You definitely got a little taste of fame, that's for sure. With her short video income and taking commissions, she was already pulling in a steady $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And my own custom orders were finally starting to pick up, too. Even though we were still a long way from true independence, that little crack leading to freedom had definitely been pried open. We're going to get married in the summer, right? She mumbled sleepily one morning. Yeah, we will. Unless, you know, you get your wings and decide you don't want me anymore. No way, I only want you. Just having you is more than enough for me. You're really special. You're the most special person in the world to me. You scooped me up when I was at my absolute lowest. And you took care of me, and you always think about my feelings. You really are the best one. I'm super greedy, you know. Like, really greedy. Oh really? Then could you be lured away by some good food? I would, just like when I met you. But after having you, I wouldn't. See? There you go. I wouldn't either. The snow outside the window was falling heavier and heavier. But the warmth in my arms was just right. Chu Shu held onto my arm, her voice soft and sweet. Sha Tian, when I can walk again, and drag you all over the place, you won't find me annoying, will you? Then when I can walk again, can I go downstairs by myself to wait for you after work? Sure, come down. What if I go to your workplace to wait for you? You can come, when I can walk again. Will you love me even more? I'll always love you, no matter what. Then, I want to get my legs treated, okay?